Hi everyone. So, as you can see from the title, this video is about something that causes you to slowly starve to death without a choice. You don't have an option. I figured it's something that is worth sharing some knowledge about, considering it is super rare. I figured a pretty good way to get people to pay attention to this disorder, instead of just typing a bunch of stuff for people to go read, why not make a video that people can just listen to? Even if that's really nerve-wracking for me. But yeah, I'm not sure how many people will honestly see this. And doing this is absolutely petrifying. But I need to be a voice for this chronic illness that is called cyclic vomiting syndrome. CVS is an unexplained disorder of children and adults that was first described by Dr. S.G. or G. I'm not entirely sure which one it is. Just spelled G-E-E. For those of you who want to look him up, in 1882. The condition is characterized by recurrent, prolonged attacks of severe nausea, vomiting, prostration with no apparent cause. In some, there is severe abdominal pain. Vomiting occurs at frequent intervals for hours or days. The episodes tend to be similar to each other in symptoms and duration, and are self-limited with return of normal health between episodes. That is just a brief summary of what cyclic vomiting syndrome is. And I'm gonna do a little disclaimer now, because you guys probably think I'm weird. I've been really nauseous all day, and it's kind of hard to breathe. So if I breathe heavy or take deep breaths or stop, or even get confused or forget what I'm saying or anything like that, it's all just because of how sick I've been. So please just go with it if possible. I do apologize for if I start puking. I don't want this video to get gross, but it might. I'm not really good at editing. I haven't edited videos since high school, and I don't particularly feel well, so we'll just see how this goes. But yeah, so that is my little disclaimer. And again, I apologize if this is so gross. I'll cover the camera so you guys don't see anything, but you might hear it. And I'm sorry. But yeah. Anyway, so that was an explanation on what CVS is. Just a brief one. It's a pretty complicated issue, and not too much is known about it, which is really unfortunate. But my CVS personally started as a child, we think, because as a child I always had stomach issues. I would get sick and it would seem like a stomach bug or food poisoning, but no one else would get sick. We just assumed I had a really low immune system or something. I was told that I threw up a lot randomly as a baby compared to other babies. As a kid, when I was like 5, maybe even as young as 4, my grandmother would have me lay in bed with one of those metal mixing bowls, just in case I got sick. Because oftentimes I would just start puking and I wouldn't be able to make it to the bathroom out of nowhere. In the morning I would feel nauseous, but I always loved school and I wanted to go, so I would However, I would get sent home, and eventually it got to a point where I couldn't even get up in the morning and get out of bed, and I would be late or fall asleep, or I'd end up puking in class, or I would go to the nurse, and I think the nurse hated me because I wasn't diagnosed with anything yet, but I would go in with a migraine, and I would feel super nauseous, and everything would be spinning, and I would feel like complete crap. And the only thing that I found that would make me feel better is laying down in the dark, not moving. So I'd go to the nurse, and she'd get really, really upset with me, but I couldn't focus in class, and I mean, all my teachers knew that I would still pass. They knew that I would get my work done. You know, they were really understanding. It's just, I don't think she was too fond of it, but that's understandable. You know, some kids lie to get out of class, so it makes sense, I guess. Anyway, the abdominal pain I have had for almost as long as I can remember, as young as 7, I think. It started getting really, really, really bad at 13, but it goes back as far as 7, I think, because I specifically remember being in a bath, and my mom was trying to give me water because she was going to have to take me to the hospital if I kept puking. And I would be in the bath, and I would just start throwing up all the liquids and then a bunch of acid. And it hurt. The pain, I didn't understand, and I was really young. And I mean, I was just really grateful that my mom was there, but we had no idea what was wrong. We just, you know, like I said, thought it was a bug for food poisoning. I've always had issues with food. For some reason, I'm not entirely sure when it started, if it's been my whole life or if it started when I was really young, but they've always made me sick. As a kid, there were points where my parents would be like, "Do you guys want ice cream?" And I would tell them no, I wanted to try to eat broccoli or a fruit or something, which is odd for a child to do. So my mother and I were talking about it after I got diagnosed, and it made more sense, because children with CVS, they don't know how to explain what's going on and what makes them sick and how it hurts, and it's difficult for them to describe. Anyone that has a child with CVS can let you know that. So it was just really difficult. Anyway, yeah, so we just think that was because as a kid I didn't know how to describe it, and I knew that my body wouldn't be able to handle something like ice cream or cake or candy or soda. I hated soda so much. I love water, but I throw water up now, so that's unfortunate. As I got older, my cycles got closer together, and they were more frequent. They were longer. By junior year, my nausea was absolutely every morning, and certain things triggered it, and it just kind of became normal for me, I guess. Like, I felt like crap, but I didn't get it. I didn't know what was going on, so it is what it is, and I wanted to graduate and go to school. I'd show up late, even if I had to crawl out of bed and get ready super slow and walk super slow. I'd still show up. I had to work really hard to be able to finish school with this problem. However, it would get better most of the time in the afternoon and the evening, and it wasn't an all-the-time thing besides in the morning. And around my period, which I'll explain later. So it was just, symptoms of CVS, but they weren't super extreme yet, if that makes any sense to you guys. Once I was a senior, I was in the hospital a lot, and I would be sick for about 1 to 1.5 months. Then I'd be somewhat okay with less symptoms for a couple months, and for those couple months I'd go work as much as possible and get as much done as possible, because I noticed there was a pattern where I'd get sick fairly quickly and I'd end up in the hospital and I would get fired. So that was extremely difficult to do, but that's how it went. But yeah, I'd work as much as I could. In 2013, I had a 2-story house in this job that I was at for 5 months, which was really good for me. I had been really sick, but they were being super patient. However, I wasn't there long enough to have insurance, and they ended up sending me home telling me I couldn't be there because I had been too sick. And I couldn't get a doctor at the ER to fill out my medical leave papers because I didn't have a diagnosis from an actual doctor yet. So that kind of screwed everything up, and I got fired. And my roommates thought that it was fake. They thought that I was just doing it to get out of work or to get attention and things like that, which wasn't the case. And I ended up needing to lose my house because it wasn't manageable anymore expense-wise, because I couldn't work as much. And then, like I said, I ended up getting fired. So, yeah, in 2013 is when it started getting pretty bad, but I don't know, it was weird. It was extremely isolating, if that makes sense, because no one believed me, and I started to think I was crazy because the doctors couldn't find anything wrong. I began to wonder if I was crazy, and it really messed with me for a while. I didn't understand. I would adjust my diets, I'd still work out, I would do everything that I could do, and it didn't get any better as I got older. So it was pretty rough in 2013. I couldn't ever eat, really. And like I said, the doctors didn't know it was wrong. In 2014, I reached a point where I was nauseous every day, and most days I couldn't eat at all. My roommate, Sierra, I love her to death. We're not roommates anymore, but she was the biggest support I had at that time, and it meant the world to me. She didn't think I was crazy, and she was the best friend I could have asked for at that point. She was extremely patient with me. She knew that I was working as hard as I could. I was working as much as I could, up to 15 hours a day. Trying to get everything together again, because after my brother died, I got really sick and it just didn't work. But yeah, in 2014, that's when I met Sierra. But it was after my brother died. I began being nauseous all day, every day, and I couldn't eat. But for some reason, I wouldn't lose weight. I would still fluctuate between 190 and 185, which didn't make sense to me or my doctors. It was really, really weird to us, because I would work out too, and I'd walk to work, and I worked in another town, so I would take a bus for like half an hour, then I'd walk for like half an hour, and, you know, I got good exercise, so we didn't understand, but my health just got worse, and I lost weight. The theory now is that because I would go without eating, and then I would eat, and then I'd go without eating, is that my body would do a starvation mode thing, and it would just shut down. That's kind of the theory, but we're not entirely sure, because again, I wasn't diagnosed back then. Anyway, there were days I couldn't move because the nausea and the pain were just too much, and I would just lay in bed and I'd be like, don't move, Sabrina, just stay still. And I found a video on YouTube of a girl who wrote a poem about what CBS feels like, and she described it the same way. And it actually made me cry because I understood exactly what it was, and she understood what it's like to just lay there and wish and hope and pray and beg. But if you don't move, your stomach will stop turning, and you'll stop needing to vomit, everything will stop spinning. And it's really difficult to deal with. So there were days I just couldn't get out of bed. I wouldn't go to the doctor though, because I got sick of the medical bills and not knowing what was wrong. You know, I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. There was nothing I could do for it, so why keep going was my thought. And then in 2015, in March actually, I started puking one day. Like, I started having symptoms of a stomach flu and everything. And a stomach flu was going around at the time. I worked at a call center, and it's very common to get sick when everyone else gets sick. But even my family in New York, I'm in Arizona, and even my family in New York had the stomach flu at the same time as everyone here. It was a really nasty bug, and that's what I thought it was. Everyone had it for 2 to 3 weeks, and, you know, I was used to when I got sick it would be longer, so I was like, no, I'll give it 3 to 5 weeks, and it should go away. I just wanted to deal with it, and people were like, Sabrina, you need to go to the hospital, and I didn't want to. I was like, look, I already owe like $20,000 in debt from the time that I was 18 to the time that I was 21, because I couldn't work anywhere long enough to get insurance, and the state wasn't giving out insurance at that time. You know, it was too much money. No one knew what was wrong. It was just pointless to me, and a lot of people looked down on me for going to the hospital and being sick without having a diagnosis. And like I said, people started to make me think that I might actually be crazy. I didn't trust doctors. I didn't trust myself. I was extremely discouraged, and I was really depressed. But I kept working, and I was trying to just start over, like always, but this time without any of my friends or without any of my help from like my family. I didn't want to talk to anyone about being sick. I didn't want anyone to know that anything was wrong. After my brother died, I wanted to disappear, and that's kind of what I did. I just kept everything a secret. It was just easier after everything in 2013 and 2014 to do that. But anyways, in July, I ended up admitted to the hospital. I was having severe pain, and like I said, I'd been puking for months by this point. that morning I first passed blood when I went to the bathroom, which I thought was odd, but sometimes as a girl, if you start your period, it'll look like you did that. So I assumed that that might be what was going on, and that the pain might not be from anything serious. And I was like, if it happens again, then I will go to the hospital. And I told my roommate. While we were talking about it, not even 10 minutes later, I was vomiting chunks of blood and straight blood. There is a picture of it on all of my CVS pages. There's actually 2 of them now. So you can see that if you desire to go look. It's pretty gruesome, I'm not gonna lie. If any of you watch Metalocalypse, the first thing that came to my mind was Nathan Explosion saying brutal. But then I was like, oh, this is an emergency, Serena. Like, you're used to being sick, but this is bad. And so my roommate went to the hospital with me. The nurses were accusing me of being a drunk and a drug seeker and, everything like that, which is very common for CVS patients to be, accused of being at first, and even after they're diagnosed, because like I said, it's not very well known. So some of the nurses, because doctors don't even know about it, some of the nurses are like, oh, this person's just, crazy, pretty much, which is really unfortunate for us and our treatment. But anyway, so after they accused me of that, and I requested to speak to, I don't remember what they're called, I think it was the administrator, or the head nurse, or something like that, I ended up finding out that I was being admitted. They didn't know for how long, but I was being admitted, and they finally had my room. This was a year ago, as of yesterday or the day before yesterday. And anyway, so I was there for a week. They were doing every test that they could think of, but they didn't find the source of the bleeding, which sucked. We did everything, and the doctor, even the GI specialist actually, even thought it was really weird to not find a source for bleeding. However, she did do everything in her power to actually find out what was wrong with me. At one point, I started crying, and I told her I had no idea what was wrong with me, and I was really sick of this, and that I really needed a doctor that would help me. And me and her had issues getting a hold of each other afterward because my phone got shut off. She found out what was wrong with me, although I didn't find out until November. But she is the only reason that I found out what was wrong. Anyway, I was diagnosed with cyclic vomiting syndrome by GI specialist Dr. Faybush in Phoenix, Arizona. So for those of you who are in Arizona and think that you have CVS and are having issues with finding doctors that will listen to you or diagnose you or do tests or honestly take care of you, I would highly recommend doing whatever you need to do to go see her, even if it's pay out of pocket, because she will help you if that is what you have. I don't know what she can do for other illnesses, but she's the only reason I ever found out what was wrong. So she's highly recommended. I have been to so many doctors, even after her, and even they wouldn't listen to me. And yeah, so Dr. Faybush, Phoenix, Arizona, for those of you who need a GI specialist to help you figure out what's going on if you're having cyclic vomiting patterns. Sorry, I put little bullets because I knew that with like my brain fog today, I wouldn't remember everything. And I don't want to go on too many tangents, which I have a tendency to do, and this is already 25 minutes long, so yeah. Anyway, I was alone in Phoenix with no friends except for Sierra and no family. I moved back with my family and my CVS kept getting worse. The longest I've gone without puking since March of 2015 is 7 days. And that isn't symptom free. That doesn't discredit the nausea or anything. That is just without vomiting. But don't get me wrong, I am so thankful for days where I'm not vomiting. It is not abnormal for CVS patients to still be nauseous and have other symptoms between vomiting. Not all of us have the flow phase, is what it's called, because there's 4 phases to a cycle. But the well phase is where you're healthy. A lot of our well phases, we'll call them well phases just because they're a little bit better. Like my well phase is when I'm not puking, although I'm still nauseous with headaches and I can't eat. But yeah, that's what my well phase considers. So that 7 days was my well phase, and it's the longest one I've had in a year and like 4 months now. Occurrence, CVS begins at any age. It can persist for months, years, or decades. Episodes may reoccur several times a month or several times a year. Females are affected slightly more than males. The person may be prone to motion sickness, and there is often a family history of a migraine. There is a high likelihood that children's episodes will be replaced by migraine headaches during adolescence. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 23. However, I've had symptoms and cycles that fit CVS since I was an infant. Both sides of my family have a history of migraines, and I have horrible, horrible migraines and abdominal migraines. They do go together, and it really sucks. However, I had more migraines as a teen than vomiting episodes itself. There is no way to know if your CVS will go away or not, and if so, there's no way of knowing for how long or when it will go away. There's no way of knowing when your episodes are going to be decent or when they're going to almost kill you. The symptoms, episodes may begin at any time, but often start during the early morning hours. There is relentless nausea with repeat bouts of vomiting or retching. The person is pale, listless, and resists talking. They often drool or spit and have an extreme thirst. They may experience intense abdominal pain and less often headache, low-grade fever, and diarrhea. Prolonged vomiting may cause mild bleeding from irritation of the esophagus. One mother aptly describes her child's state during the episode as a conscious coma. The symptoms are frightening to the person and family and can be life-threatening if delayed treatments leads to dehydration. As I explained to my CVS, who's always had a morning issue, mornings are not in any way my friend. Although I love them, I think they're beautiful, and I wish I could go out and enjoy them. Yes, mild bleeding is extremely common. However, it doesn't stop there. I have a friend I met in a CVS group who was vomiting so hard and for so long that he tore his esophagus to the point that his stomach contents emptied into his body, and he ended up in a coma. I'm pretty sure it was for a month. I think it was 30 days. If that's wrong, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure it was 30 days that he was in a coma. That's scary. It can happen to any of us at any time, especially since I do tear my throat when I'm puking, and I do bleed a lot. Anyways, so that's an example on how extreme it can get. I often have the conscious coma state that many talk about. I vomit an insane amount. My nausea almost never goes away. My treatments have been delayed, and I have been needing them extremely badly. I get dehydrated in my weekly episodes more than once. Sometimes they will just treat me at the hospital and send me home, and sometimes they won't let me leave because I'm too dehydrated and it's too dangerous for me to go home. A couple other symptoms I have of CVS are sensitivity to light, heat, and sound. So yes, being in this bright light is absolutely killing me right now. My head is pounding, but I took migraine medication in hopes it would help, and this video needs to be made, so we're gonna keep going. Diagnosis. CVS has been difficult to diagnose because it's frequently recognized and is often misdiagnosed as stomach flus or food poisonings. There are, as yet, no blood tests, x-rays, or other specific procedures used to diagnose the disorder. The diagnosis is made by careful review of the patient's history, physical examination, and lab studies to rule out other diseases that may cause vomiting similar to CVS. CVS is not well known or understood. It is extremely rare, and getting diagnosed can be extremely difficult. Like I said, it took me years and years of testing. I didn't get diagnosed till I was 23, and it was 7 years of regular episodes that increased in regular hospital visits with tests. After a while, I just wasn't buying the food poisoning theory or the stomach flu theory. Like, who gets those numerous times a year, and absolutely nobody else around them gets sick. It doesn't really happen that way, but it's all I had to go off of. Triggers. Although some patients know nothing of triggers, many identify specific circumstances that seem to bring on their episodes: colds, flus, and other infections, intense excitement like birthdays, holidays, vacations, emotional stress, both positive and negative. Menstrual periods are the most frequent reported triggers. Specific foods or anesthetics may also play a role. Sorry, I was wondering. I get sick even if I avoid my triggers. However, if I do not avoid my triggers, the level of ill I will reach is inexplainable, and it is so excruciating. So I avoid triggers as much as possible. I do get sick a lot, unfortunately. We're not sure if I have an autoimmune disease yet or not, but that is one trigger I try to help, but can't, always prevent with my CVS because my immune system does suck. So I do get sick often, especially when I was working. Sorry, I got really busy with that. Another one is excitement. This is probably the most unfortunate trigger for me, I think, because those of you who know me know that I get excited. And I get really excited out of nowhere. Like, it is spontaneous, and I will jump up and down and start squealing, and I just get so happy. And it really sucks going from that to vomiting, so I try really hard not to get excited, which kind of dulled down a lot for me, but it is what it is, like I've said. Emotional stress, I've really cut down on how much I let things bother me, and when people bother me, I get them out of my life, because it was literally killing me to have so much negativity and emotional stress going on. It's better for me to keep to myself and keep that down than to be out there and, ending up super ill because people wanted to be silly. So it's just easier to just keep things that cause emotional stress to a minimum. However, I do still have an endocrine disorder which causes hormone issues, which can make it difficult to always control your emotions. Menstrual periods is one of my biggest triggers. I'm female, then I'm just screwed there. There's nothing I can do about that. At least 1 to 2 weeks a month, I am really, really ill with what's compared to the sickness you get in chemo, but even worse because it doesn't stop. And there's no cause, there's nothing you can do. Anyway, CVS is described as there's no other disorder that will make you vomit 15 to 30 times at a time, up to 400 times per episode in one person alone, coming every 5 to 10 minutes. There really isn't anything, so in my mind, it is the most intense vomiting disorder in human beings. Thanks to my hormone issues, though, I can have a period for up to 3 months at a time, although it's often for 3 weeks to a month with a week or two in between. So I'm sick most of the time just based on the fact that I have a horrible period and horrible hormones. So that sucks. Food is another huge trigger, which is why I avoid it. I can't eat solid foods. I try to drink smoothies for some nutrition. Days like today, I can't even hold that down. MSG is a major trigger and will put me in the hospital basically right away. So there goes most foods, especially Chinese, which sucks because I love Chinese so much. And I can't have pizza. It's like a world without pizza that has pizza advertisements. It really sucks. Anyway, sorry, I'm not gonna say more about pizza. Anyway, so some other common triggers are hot weather, being warm, and that's another one for me. The heat absolutely kills me. Physical exhaustion and motion sickness are also triggers. Motion sickness is pretty new for me. That's in the last year to year and a half, which really sucks because I used to love going off-roading and I cannot do it anymore, and the same with roller coasters, so the adrenaline junkie in me has to calm down a lot. Physical exhaustion, not getting enough sleep, like I said, those are triggers, and I have insomnia, so that's also fun. Treatments, it's kind of difficult. Treatment in the absence of known pathophysiology CVS remains empiric. The following management strategies are used for CVS. Empiric means a person who, in medicine or other branches of science, relies solely on observation and experiment. There is no set treatment for CVS. It's just what works the best for you and what keeps you alive if they can't help get rid of your episodes. There's no cure, and the treatment's in the air, like you just heard. Some parts of treatment involve life changes, like avoidance of triggers, like I've explained a little bit. Abortive therapy, which I try every time. It doesn't work for me, but I give it a shot because it is definitely worth it in my opinion. It says supportive care during episodes. That's definitely nice to have. It's definitely nice because emotions play a huge factor once you're super sick. But yeah, I mean, you could debate that one if you want, I suppose. And hospitalization, I need that one about twice a week because of how severe my CVS is. Family support. Treatment is generally supportive with much importance placed on early intervention. A dark, quiet environment is critical for sleep. Hospitalization and IV fluid replacement may be necessary. Medication trials sometimes succeed in finding something to prevent, shorten, or abort episodes, but not always. It is important to work with a physician who does his/her best to understand CVS and is supportive. Until recently, I didn't have much support with CVS, honestly, and that's okay. Not from friends or family or doctors. It was pretty isolating, and it made me feel horrible about myself, but eventually I found out what was going on, and that changed everything for me in a sense. Anyway, so a dark, quiet room is my savior, for sure. Like I explained, I would need that at the nurses. It's one of the biggest things that helped me and a lot of other people. I keep my room black and cold so that I can go die in there. That's what I call it. That's just what I want everyone to leave me alone. I don't want to talk. I don't want any noise. I don't want any light. I just want to be in a cold room and just be alive but not really exist, if that makes any sense to anyone. My episodes are severe and they are life-threatening episodes, which is why I need the hospital 2 times a week on average. We have not yet found medications to prevent, shorten, or abort my episodes. Like I said, I've been sick for over a year non-stop, and my doctors are quite concerned with my weight loss. And it's difficult to find a supportive physician that is willing to admit that they don't entirely understand and is willing to work with you and see what works for you individually. That's really hard to find. And the foundation of long-term management involves a responsive, collaborative doctor-patient family relationship. That's all very important. Consistent, accessible physicians care by a care coordinator who understands and communicates the nature of CVS regardless of specialty. It is vital to the family's well-being. Connections with the Cyclic Vomiting Syndrome Association, a family and professional network, does a great deal towards healing a family that has been in doubt and despair for years. Like you'll see everywhere that I have been posting, I really want to go to the Mayo Clinic, and that is because that's one of the best hospitals for rare illnesses. There's a hospital for CVS in Wisconsin, but that is across the country. The Mayo Clinic is the closest one to me, however, I do need transportation to get there. That is my best shot at overcoming this, I think, and so do many others. For treatments, I have a lot of doctors currently. I'm seeing a PCP, GI specialist. I need a nutritionist. I'm just not sure how to afford it. I need an endocrinologist, but right now I have a GI specialist, and for my hormone portion, I have a gynecologist who speaks to an endocrinologist about certain hormones to put me on. I participate in behavioral health therapy to try and keep emotional triggers to a minimum and learn how to control my excitement and things like that, because I was always a really hyperactive kid. I'm not trying to went into my adulthood, but I need to keep it to a minimum. And like I said, I'm on hormone therapy to try and help that aspect of CVS. I've had 2 surgeries so far. Both were in December. One was to try and help control the hormones aspect more and see if there was a cause for abdominal pain besides CVS, like endometriosis or something. And another one was to remove my gallbladder, which is very common for CVS patients to try. However, you will get relief for a little bit. I had about 4 days. I was really nauseous for about 4 days. I was also highly medicated. And then my vomiting went to like once every day, and then every few days, and then it started increasing again, which is how it generally goes, unfortunately. But to us, it's worth a shot, and I knew that when I signed the papers. The GI specialist even told me that it might not help. But we both agreed it was worth a shot, and we did an emergency surgery. My doctors were really concerned that I was going to end up in the hospital over the holidays, and I did, even with treatment. So not having treatment is really scary. My CVS has been so up and down in my young adult life. I wouldn't be able to work long before being hospitalized and fired. It's gone between me, work, and schooling, and everything I enjoyed doing, including go see my friends. When you have a stomach flu, you don't like to go out. You know, you just feel like you're gonna die. And I have a stomach flu times 10. It's a stomach flu on steroids basically every single day. I don't go out and do things anymore. It sucks, but I can't do it. It's caused me to lose everything more than once, but I always stay afloat and try to make it work. This last year I haven't been able to work at all, and I will know if I'm approved for SSI in at least 5 months. It could take longer. That would change the world for me, but it does take time to get, and it is a process, and it is quite a fight. It's not as difficult as SSD, but it is still a fight, understandably. Anyway, it's made me think that I was crazy. It's made other people think I was making myself sick for attention, or that I was doing it to get out of work or school. And, old friends would laugh and make fun of me, and ex of mine would yell at me and tell me that he was going to break up with me because I went to the hospital like he was going out of style. In his exact words. He told me he hated me over it, and he told me that he ended up breaking up with me after 4 years because I would cost too much money, which is understandable. Not everyone can handle diseases. I just think that if I knew what was going on and I could have explained it better, people would have reacted better. But that's not how history went, and so I just started keeping to myself. And, going to the hospital is a necessary part of treatment. It's what I needed to do to stay alive, even though I didn't know what was wrong with me yet. That is a part of the treatment. It is the most crucial part of treatment. Anyway, so yeah, I started keeping to myself, hoping that it would get better, or that it could be fixed, or that it would go away, and that I could do it on my own, but my mom was right, and it's chronic. And it's time I come to terms with it, and that it is slowly killing me this last year. And to just be honest with everyone, CVS has complications like tearing your throat, losing your teeth, malnutrition, dehydration. It has put people in a coma, and some procedures and tools used to keep CVS patients alive and hydrated have resulted in the death of those patients. Delayed treatment can also result in death. It can also lead to gastroparesis, which is paralyzation of the stomach. It is a very painful, very painful illness. And there's a lot of reasons why we believe that I have it. We need to do some tests, including gastric emptying tests. However, I need to be able to get to those. So, gastroparesis can kill people too if you look it up. It is a very serious disease. There's also postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's referred to as POTS. It commonly goes with CVS, and I have symptoms of POTS. We definitely need to check now because I've been having blood pressure issues. I have fainted a couple times now, and when I fainted a little over a week ago, I hit my face on the counter, then my head on the doorknob. I busted my lip open in multiple spots. I couldn't see, talk, move. I started puking and dry heaving. I was confused. It was petrifying. Explaining issues with treatment is probably necessary at this point. Basically, my treatments equate to 22 to 40 hours a week, and that does not include if I can make it to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, which will add 5 hours minimum per appointment. It is on average 150 to 322 miles per week. And again, if I can get into the Mayo Clinic, I just need to get the cost covered and find transportation. That goes up by 500 miles per appointment at the Mayo Clinic. It's really unreliable. It's too much to ask of people. I haven't been able to get my treatments. The insurance provides cabs to appointments, sure, but you need to give them a certain time's notice, which I often don't have. I go to a doctor and they decide I need an emergency test, or an emergency surgery, or an emergency appointment with another doctor that day. It's happened. And I can't give them the notice that they want or need. I can't afford cabs everywhere. Hundreds of miles. That's insane. It's like $7 to $10 per mile or something like that. It's ridiculous. Ambulances will not take me to appointments. They'll take me to an emergency room for the most necessary part of treatment, yes. But just going a couple miles in an ambulance is $14,000. I know, because I have a couple of those bills. Unfortunately, I don't live as close to a hospital anymore. I would hate to see the prices now. Twice a week? That's insane. That's insane. I would need $1,000 to $1,500 to get a reliable car to do everything that I need. At least $14,000 for ambulances is just not necessary, and it's a waste of resources, especially since I can't pay that. If it's unsafe for me to drive, and I know that I can't, I will call an ambulance if no one can get me. But just for my weekly routine of being sick and going to the hospital for treatment, it's not the most plausible option, really. Walking isn't either, especially in the heat. It's extremely dangerous, especially once you're already that sick. It would completely defeat the purpose of going to the hospital to get treatment. And, if I passed out or vomited and tore my throat on the way there, that's definitely not good. So basically, I desperately need help getting a vehicle so I can stay alive and have a chance at a better quality of life. Please visit my information page about CVS on Facebook called A Look at Cyclic Vomiting Syndrome, and like it and share it. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and share the videos. I am so sorry that this is so long, but there was so much to cover. Please subscribe and share the channel and videos, like I said. And if you can please share my GoFundMe, it is www.gofundme.com/help for my CVS. I would appreciate it more than anything. I need 150 to 250 people to donate $5. And it could be the difference between life and death for me anytime between today and a couple of years at this rate. If this keeps going at the rate it has been, in less than a year, I'll be 90 pounds. And after that, I won't have very long. So, it's scary, and I really need help. This just $5 donations could literally be the difference between life and death for me. I'm only 24. Yeah, I have depression, but that doesn't mean that I want to, die yet. Yeah, I might over-exaggerate when I'm upset and really sick and emotional because I'm physically and mentally exhausted and I'm drained of everything. But I have hopes that I can get better, or at least get treatment so that I have a better quality of life and can enjoy it a bit more, while I'm here, even if we can't fix it. I also look for studies to participate in so that they can research CVS, because even if we don't have a cure in my life, I know what this illness can do, and I hate the fact that anyone has to have it. Even if I don't see a cure, I want future generations to have one. So that's something else I try to do. If you know of any, please let me know. I would love to look into them and see if there's something I can join. But yeah, in less than a year, if it keeps going at this rate, I'll be less than 90 pounds, and that's if other complications like dehydration and lack of treatment or malnutrition don't kill me by then. But yeah, like I said, it's basically starving to death, slowly and painfully, without having a choice. but I really need help. Either spreading awareness about CVS to at least get it out there, or hopefully to get the money for a vehicle so that I know that I'll be okay for as long as possible and that I'll have access to care that I need. But please share anything that you can, even if it's just information or just, a GoFundMe link if you don't want to donate. It's extremely dangerous, it's extremely rare, and we need some help because it does kill people. So, thank you.